This is Andy,
And this is Tom.
and you're at. Oh, fuck, I fucked it up. Okay,
Well,
I'll cut that out. Okay. This is Andy,
and this is Tom.
and we put
America
America first.
first.
All right, today's topic is it voting? Talking about voting, right?
Yeah.
All right. I was reading about voting, and basically, there is a history of voting in the United States. When the country was first founded, only white landowning males could vote. And over the course of our history, basically, they struck down the property owner part, so all white males could vote. Then we had the Civil War. Eventually, black people had the ability to vote as well, although it was probably about 100 years until it was actually possible for them to actually go to the polls and vote, due to like poll taxes and all these other um, inhibitory rules, basically, that would keep them from actually voting. And then it's opened up to women, and then it was opened up to people that were over the age of 18. I'm not sure how old you had to be in the beginning. I don't know, 25, 30, whatever. But I was thinking, nowadays, 50% of the population doesn't even pay an income tax to the federal government, but they still get to vote in federal elections. So you have this situation developing where half the people in the country. Let me give an example. Let's say there's two guys and they're going to get into a fight. And you're like, all right, we're going to agree, fists only. We don't want any real damage. We just want to see who's a bigger man here. So they have an interest in what the rules are because they're going to have to suffer the consequences. That's like people who are paying taxes. If some shit in the government doesn't work, well, shit, they're out the money. But people who don't pay taxes would be the equivalent of having a crowd of people attending the fight and having a say in what's going to happen in this fight. And of course, the crowd of people, they're not going to have to deal with the physical consequences of what goes wrong. So they're going to vote for the most entertaining or the most beneficial thing for them, which is entertainment. Yeah, let's vote for chains. Let's have a chainsaw duel. Or, yeah, brass knuckles, or an axe, or shoot each other. Like, who cares? They have no skin in the game whatsoever. So they're going to vote for the most entertaining violence possible. And meanwhile, the two guys that actually have skin in the game, they got to pay the price. That's what's happening in America because everybody gets to vote, even people who have contributed absolutely nothing. Your thoughts?
I think what you're touching on seems to me like we as American citizens do not have an absolute right to vote. Okay, that's the one thing we have to qualify is like the right to vote is not absolute. There are qualifications. Now, we already have qualifications such as, you have to be 18 years old. You have to be a U.S. citizen, I believe. You can't be a felon, stuff like that. So there are already restrictions on voting. It's not an absolute right. And I think as a society, we just have to come up with what is the best amount of restrictions to have. Now, it used to be, like you said, only landowning white males, right? And then I believe even when blacks got the right to vote, this was even before the Civil War, but their property requirements were higher.
Well, before you go on, let me ask you this. Or let me point this out and see if you have any thoughts on it. So the framers of the Constitution, obviously very brave, very intelligent, very well-read people. I mean, if you just read the Declaration of Independence or any one of their documents, Federalist Papers, these guys are extremely intelligent. I mean, they would have like a run-on, not even a run-on sentence. I'm just saying the sentences, or our written word is our ability to put thoughts and ideas down on paper. They have a sentence that's like 3 paragraphs long that just doesn't stop because their thought process was that in depth and detailed.
Yeah, I mean,
very intelligent.
If you read like the Declaration of Independence, it's brilliant. And this is the age before the internet where you could just like look up and cross-reference stuff on Google,
So super intelligent people
Right.
And they thought it was a great idea that white landowning males were the only ones that could vote. Not women, not people who didn't own land, not anybody else. I mean, is there something to that we're not getting to? Like your average person today thinks our system's fine. Yeah,
Right.
everybody should have a say. Yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
everybody's that smart that or has that much invested in this country. It's not the same. It's really harming our system, I think.
Yeah, I think there's the one point that you brought up how they have skin in the game where they're worried about, like, if you're a landowning person who has accumulated wealth, you have a vested interest in the long-term well-being and success of the country. There's one other point that I would like to bring up in regards to why you would want landowning, basically landowners, to be the ones who are voting. And because this was kind of a quick, if you think about it, it's kind of a quick way to measure for intelligence, character, ambition.
Or
Because,
maybe values too, because if you own land here, you're a citizen and you own land here, you just have an interest in this country. I mean, you're here. It's not like you don't own. If you didn't own shit here, you could pack your bags and leave, right? But if you own land here, you are invested in the future of this country.
well, I think that you're invested in the future, but it's also if you're a landowner, say the minimum is like you got to own at least 100 acres. Now we're talking about accumulating wealth. Now the cream rises to the top. You've heard that saying. So that's basically like they're setting a minimum standard of voting and they're just using accumulated wealth as the standard. You know what I'm saying? So it's the odds are that if you have accumulated wealth and land, the odds are that you are more intelligent than people who have not accumulated any, land and savings.
Sure, and I think today you could even change. I mean, landowning. Nobody's. You can't just make more land. So, I think today maybe saying has this person paid taxes for 10 years? I mean,
Right.
some bar that you have to reach instead of, hey, you're 18 years old. Your life experience consists of going to high school and getting a shitty education in the U.S. education system. Here's the right to vote and influence the country. And I think we talked about Starship Troopers. There's a Robert Heinlein quote from the book where the it's actually in you can go on YouTube and look up Starship Troopers the movie, and it's the Johnny Rico and school scene, and the teacher says, I forget the exact quote, but it basically tells Johnny Rico that your vote is a form of violence because with that vote is the power of government, the power of the police, the power of the military. I mean, if you vote for something to become law, the government is going to enforce that with violence if necessary. So your vote is a form of violence. It doesn't seem like it, but whatever it enacts carries the threat of violence behind it. If you don't comply with that, some government agent is going to come make you comply with that. And people take it so lightly that anybody should be able to vote when the repercussions are, I mean, think about people bitch about the Second Amendment and AR-15s. How many times do people get killed with AR-15s? It's pretty damn rare. I mean, you have a mass shooting once in a while, but we go to and people are deathly like half the country is deathly afraid of AR-15s and think they're
Right.
these like magic killing machines where you just hold the trigger down and bullets just spray out and kill everybody. They've never touched a gun in their life. They don't know shit about guns or whatever, but then they think about voting like, yeah, hey, I voted. Yeah, get out there and rock the vote.
Right.
We
You have
have
people who are just
legions
stupid.
of idiots in this country who are basically wielding the power of the U.S. military with their stupidity and electing candidates who are willing to use the U.S. military to police the world and, take out dictators, support dictators, use the IRS to collect taxes to redistribute wealth. I mean, that's real violence on a massive scale, taking people's property, killing people around the world. That vote is way more dangerous than an AR-15, but nobody bats an eye at letting an 18-year-old vote.
I mean, it's not just an 18-year-old or the age, you know. I mean, there are some 18-year-olds out there who are very mature and intelligent and, qualified to vote, And there's some 30, 40 people who are never intelligent enough.
It's true.
It's difficult to figure out, well, how do we qualify people. I mean, I think that, listen, now here's the thing, like white males who own property. I'll just first want to touch on the intelligence part of what all of that, what all of those things make up. So you're white, right? The average IQ of a white man is 100. Of an African American, it's 85. So right there, we're talking about a 15-point average IQ difference. And then you're talking about white, male, and we'll say landowners. Now, if you're a landowner, you're most likely going to be middle class, you're going to be wealthier. So if you're wealthier, you're going to be more well-nourished. A large part that goes into brain development, especially during when a woman is pregnant and when the baby is growing up as a child, is, are they getting enough nutrients? So if you are a landowner, you're going to be able to provide your wife and child with enough nutrients for them to grow up and have a healthy brain that maximizes their intellectual potential. And if you're a white male who is poor and is the bottom of the barrel, maybe you're not a landowner. That's going to separate all the people who are like, why aren't you a landowner? A lot of poor people are poor because it's their own damn fault. It's either they're drinking all the time, they're lazy, whatever. So it's going to...
Well, let me... I think a lot of people would be upset to hear that, but really think about all the people who started off poor. I mean, you could go... There's stories of people start off poor, but they think like a rich person, like they have big dreams. But most people don't, and that's why they just stay poor.
I'm not talking about poor like...
Nothing.
If you are poor for a period of 5... People today don't even know what poor means. Poor is like where it's like you don't have a roof over your head. You can't feed your family. You can't feed yourself. You can't clothe yourself. It doesn't mean where it's like, poor today is like I'm working at a job and I'm my first 5 years I'm poor, I'm not making much money. But if there's no reason in America today, actually the Brookings Institution did a study to where as long as you graduate high school, are employed full-time, and do not have a child outside of marriage, you will not be poor in America. That's not much to ask. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a qualification test to be like, yes, these people are intelligent enough to vote. And then women, if you look at the time, it's just right now, just recently, this week, I believe women are going to have to sign up for the draft and the selective service. So basically, I think what you said with the Robert Heinlein and Starship Troopers, why would women vote if they don't have to defend this country? You know what I mean?
Yeah, another thing in Starship Troopers is if you're a member of the government and you vote to go to war, you have to enlist in the military until the end of the war.
That's good.
So it basically keeps you from getting involved in dumb shit because people have a self-interest, And you couldn't even become a citizen. Only citizens get to vote. Like you could live in the country. If you're born there, you just live there. You're a resident. If you wanted to vote and you wanted to take part in government, you had to serve. You had to do national service of some kind. Generally speaking, it was military service. And it showed that, hey, I care enough about this country that I'm going to put some time in and risk my life for this country by being in the military. And I think if you want to become president, you had to have served in combat. So there were not only voting restrictions, there were restrictions on who could even run for an office. They and it's funny because when I first read Starship Troopers in high school, I was trying to read it to see all these awesome sci-fi battle scenes, not see, but read about sci-fi battle scenes and now that I'm older and a libertarian, I look at it from another point of view of like, wow, this governmental system, these people, this is this is awesome. People are accountable, people are responsible, people give a damn. And in the beginning of the book, it talks about how Western civilization collapses because people got to vote who had absolutely nothing to. There was no punishment for them if they voted for something ridiculous or irresponsible. They just felt that they could vote for anything they want without any consequences. And eventually, it catches up to the West, and the West implodes. And I just see it happening to us now. Yeah, let's vote for this. Free healthcare. Healthcare costs skyrocket. Let's vote to go fight these guys. Lose $3 trillion, wasting our time in Iraq. Hey, let's go vote for this. It's like, holy shit. We just have stupid people voting for things that damage this country. And it's not even the people that are paying for it are they're suffering the burden, the financial burden of all the stuff that these people are voting for, even though they have nothing in it. Oh, any thoughts? I know I kind of went on a bit of a rant.
I think when you're talking about paying for stuff, I think another thing that needs to be mentioned about voting is there are some things that should not even be voted on. There's some things that should not even come up. They shouldn't even come to a vote.
Do you have an example?
Just things that like while we have like the Constitution, there's like free speech things, redistribution of wealth. I think like I forget which one it was, but like there's just certain things you should not even vote on. Do
you know Michael Badnarik?
No.
He was a Constitution Party candidate a couple years back. He has an awesome video series on YouTube. Everybody should watch it. If you're not a libertarian already, go watch the series called Constitution Class. By the end of it, you'll be a libertarian. Anyway, he has a saying. When he starts off, he's like, all right, first of the Bill of Rights, Congress shall make no law. Well, gee, if they had just stopped it right there.
Right.
Like just think, say, okay, you're born, you have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness ready, and then every freaking thing that the government does, it can only detract from your ability to have life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. There's nothing, no law that the government can pass that's going to make you more free than you already are.
Well, they're always at each election cycle, they're coming up with, well, my plan for the economy is this, and I'm going to create 1 million jobs, and I'm going to do this. I'm like, it's not the president's job. It's not the government's job to run the economy and create jobs and get in bed with industry to like, oh, come over and start a business in our state. We'll give you some benefits. It's not, they should have nothing to do with any of that.
Well, we're getting into another topic. I think we've hit on voting pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's stuff that just like what you're talking about, like when other people have to pay for other people's shit, there shouldn't even be like a vote that comes up for a lot of this stuff.
Oh, sure. That's another subject about the proper role of government. But
now, okay, one quick question I want to ask you. Now, what about somebody who comes into our country? They're an immigrant, right? Now, should they get to vote even if they're American? Say they're like, oh, I'm an American citizen. I got this in 1 year. And should they be, even if they're not an American citizen, should they be able to receive all of the benefits and everything?
Oh, God. No. I mean, there really shouldn't be benefits. Think like...
Yeah, good point.
Well, when we think benefits, I think today people think, oh, Social Security and this and that, and absolutely not. If you just got off the boat and just took the oath of, hey, I want to be an American, you haven't paid anything into it, no, I don't think you deserve it. But... that's not to say that they couldn't earn, like you should be able to earn your citizenship. Say they pay taxes for 10 years, they've been employed, they haven't committed a crime, started a business, come on, show us something, then yes. But think about people always think about benefits as free shit. Really, the benefit you have is you get to live in the most free country in the world. You have the most opportunity in the world. You have the U.S. military protecting your borders. You don't have to worry about an invading military or the communist Chinese authoritarians dictating every aspect of your life. Just being here and being free, that's all the benefit you need. You don't need. Only recently has it been where people have such an entitled attitude to think that, hey, I'm an American. I should have free health care. I should have free education. Someone else should, those damn rich people should pay for it. Really, they mean the middle class, because the super rich don't ever pay for shit. But, yeah,
Okay.
it's a level of narcissism that people have to believe that they deserve shit from other people.
What about, I got another question. So, generally, like in our society and historically, we make a big deal out of when African Americans got the right to vote and when women got the right to vote. And they have entire, classes devoted to women struggling for voting rights. And it's a huge deal, right? Now, today, in modern times, they say only about 30% of the population votes. So it's interesting. I just find it interesting why we make such a big deal out of these minority groups getting the right to vote, and how much benefit do they even get from having the right to vote? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you make a great point. Again, that goes right back to the beginning of my talk, that if something isn't earned, or you don't have anything invested into it, then you don't value it. If getting the right to vote meant that you had to wait until you were 30 years old and pay taxes every single year to earn that right to vote, to have a say, and you're already free. It's not like, oh, I'm being oppressed, I don't have the right to vote. You already live in a country where you have all these rights guaranteed in the Constitution. You're already doing great. But if you want to say, in determining the future of this country, where we're going, what the government's doing, actually, that's not a good thing to say. If you just want a say in what the government's policies are, or how the government's going to spend the money for the common welfare of all people, and I don't mean welfare programs, I mean, I don't know, space exploration or military, or things that benefit everybody, then you need to earn it. It shouldn't just be something given easily because it's not appreciated. And those voting numbers, they demonstrate it. I would rather have a smaller amount of people who earn the right to vote and take it seriously than it's just open to everybody. No one's really earned it, and it doesn't mean anything to them. It's not valuable when it's free.
I think that there's all kinds. Every time the election cycle comes around, there's like rock stars and stuff that are like trying to convince kids, young students, to go out and vote. And it's just like, if you have to have like concerts and rock stars and all this like bullshit to get to like incentivize you to go out and vote, maybe you shouldn't be voting. You know what I mean?
I look at it like, in the beginning, the founders, they nailed it. Or they came pretty, it was a good idea in the beginning. White land, like for all the reasons you explained already, great idea. And then it kind of started going downhill. It's like, okay, now we'll let black males vote. Okay, a black male, he's a family man. He's still interested in what's good for his family. He's got skin in the game. His IQ, granted, he's probably like second, third generation, whatever, over from Africa. His IQ probably wasn't that great, but he still had priorities.
Yeah.
There was no social welfare system. It was him having to provide. Then you go to women getting to, or actually, I skipped over men without property, but let's skip that anyway.
Yeah.
Then we go to women. Okay, a man already has his. He's already the head of the household. He's already interested in the welfare of his whole family, including the woman. But women are generally more emotional. They have more estrogen. They don't rationalize as well as men. So then we give them the right to vote. They don't own property. They're provided for already. Or if they're not provided for, like, why do women Why do women like a strong man? Because they feel like he can protect her. Well, if they don't have one, they're going to vote for a candidate that promises to protect them and be there for them. And here come, and it's no accident that once women got the right to vote, the what's it called, the Great Society soon came after.
Well, they also
Lyndon
credit
B. Johnson, free
women.
this, free that. Government will take care of this. Government will take care of that. I wonder who voted for all that.
You know,
And
another
then,
thing is I wanted to say is prohibition. That was women.
yeah, that worked out great.
Right.
And
They
then,
fucked up the first time. They fucked it up.
yeah, you've
I
been
mean,
here
you
one
think about
year.
they were the ones who wanted to ban alcohol because they didn't want men out drinking in the bars and spending their paychecks on alcohol. But that's their own selfish interest. And they didn't have the intelligence and the foresight to see all of the economic consequences that it would cause and the crime that it would cause. Because they were thinking only with their, I guess, with their emotions, or they were
Yeah,
thinking,
out of their female weakness. There are things that women are phenomenal at. There are things that they're not. And then after that, what could we do that could even screw it up more? Let's give kids right out of high school the right to vote. People who think they know, teenagers think they know everything. They have no life experience. And nowadays, they really have no good education. Coming out of high school, you have no education. I mean, these days, you'd be lucky if, the
well,
kids can write an essay that has any coherence whatsoever. And they have the ability to influence U.S. Granted, they're not the president, but they're electing the person who is going to have control of the most powerful military in the world and trillions of dollars of resources to either piss away in welfare or to invest in the future of this country.
they've also, I wanted to bring up that they've done studies where kids from a certain age range, maybe like 18 to 25, they usually vote liberal. They have a higher propensity. And then once they reach like maybe like their early 30s, the same people, it's like once they reach their early 30s, they graduate college, they've been in the workforce for a while, and they make over 40 grand a year, they switch to voting conservative. That's weird, right?
Yeah, because when you're young, like look at Bernie Sanders. Oh, he's mobilizing the youth. Yeah, if you promise free shit to a group of people, yeah, all your student loan debt's going to be forgiven. Just vote for me. Shit, where's the personal responsibility? No one put a gun to your head and said, hey, go to college at 40 grand a year and get in debt that you'll never be able to pay off. It enables this narcissistic mindset to be perpetuated when you have politicians that just can hand out money to whatever group votes for them, and young, like you couldn't do that with white landowning males because they know that money has to come from somewhere and it's going to come out of their pocket.
Right.
But you could do it with an 18-year-old who has no life experience, has never had a paycheck, has lived rent-free at his parents' house his entire life, has never had to pay taxes. I mean, there's a huge difference when you're making $10 an hour as a kid working part-time. You live at your parents' house, you drive a car that they gave you, and you might pay, $50 in taxes a paycheck or something. There's a difference between that and having a family to take care of, making 100 grand a year and paying 30 grand to the federal government. You realize then just how enslaved you are by the government and its bullshit policies. And that kid who doesn't really contribute much, who has no life experience, his vote counts just as much as yours, even though you're paying 10 times as much in taxes or more. It's unbelievable. I mean, how can you ever turn this around unless we address something as simple as who gets to vote? I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. If you're invested in the system, you pay into it, you get a vote. If you don't pay shit into it, you don't get a vote. It's not saying you don't have any rights. You're still a citizen. You still have all your rights protected. You still enjoy being in a prosperous country where you have practically unlimited opportunities. And you're protected by the most powerful military in the world. But you don't get to vote until you contribute.
Did I already bring up to you that the H.L. Mencken quote that every election is a sort of advanced auction sale of stolen goods?
That's absolutely true.
I mean, that's completely relevant, And that's why, like, if you're not like you said, if you don't have skin in the game, if you're not looking out for the long-term interest and who's going to pay for everything, I mean, that's important because
Yep. I even think, granted, I haven't thought this out that much, but I even think that once you retire, and I'll give an example. Like if you're not even military fighting age, I don't think, or if you couldn't pick up a rifle and fight for this country, I don't even know if you should be in government at all. Maybe that's a little far because you want aged, intelligent, very
right.
wise people in government, but at the same time, I don't know. There's something about people voting to go to war when they're not. I mean, either you or your firstborn son ought to be in that damn war. I want
Yeah,
to know that that war is absolutely necessary. And the only
right.
way I know that is if your blood is involved somehow in that war.
I
The
mean,
age of military presidents has ended. We used to have JFK. He was a hero. He was a PT boat captain, rescued some guys after their boat got struck by a submarine. You got Eisenhower, commanded, Allied forces in World War II. I mean, what happened to these? Now we have a community organizer who never served a day in his life, who never had a real job, really. I mean, Barack
he lived
Obama.
overseas for half his life in Indonesia, going to Muslim schools. Sorry, a little off topic.
Indonesia, a land of great achievement and
Yeah, they're
peace,
they're known for freedom and
tolerance of gays and women. Yeah.
right. It's I mean, the one thing is like I think you would see that yeah, if everybody in the Congress and in the Senate had to go to war or whatever, then it's like it would be a bit less they may be more reluctant to go. But I mean, there's just so many things where the government just the budget keeps growing and they keep blowing money on bullshit. And not just
They wouldn't
war.
be able to do that if the people that determined who was elected
Yeah.
were limited to people who had to pay the taxes or were, say, like I said earlier, 30 years old, paid taxes for 10 years, or served in the military, did your 4 years, whatever. Something to show that you give a damn about, something to earn it. Because as soon as you make it something that you have to earn, people value it. And people want to be responsible with the money that's going into the government. And people will get out there and get informed and vote. But when it's something that's not earned, people piss it away, man. It's just, oh yeah, I'll vote for this guy. Who cares what happens? I guess we'll just live with it, whatever happens. Even though I didn't pay any taxes this year, never served the country in any capacity. Yeah, I want to. It's like my opinion needs to be out. It's let me give this vote. It's my opinion. Well, your opinion isn't worth shit. You haven't earned the right to have an opinion in this contest.
You know what's interesting is the people who are voting for all of this government benefits, government expenditures, they don't like it either, but they just don't know it. Because some of the most liberal countries, or some of those liberal states in the United States, for New York, for example, there's so many others. The population is leaving the liberal states and going to the more conservative states that have more economic growth because they're better governed. There's more jobs there, more opportunities, less taxes. So the liberals, idiots who voted in all these taxes and all this bullshit to pay for all these government boondoggles, the chickens are coming home to roost. And they're like, oh, wow, there's no opportunity in this state. Let's move.
Well, I think we covered, I think we've covered like 50 minutes almost of voting theory here. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it, guys. We're going to go over to another topic pretty soon. Please subscribe, like, and share, and more videos to come. Thanks for watching. Well, that concludes our show about voting. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. More videos to come.